Hello everyone, today I'm coming with a bit more of a fun NFL draft video, not talking about the prospects and what I think they're going to do at the pro level. I want to have just a fun video because the draft is so close and it's important to have fun this time of year. Now a couple years ago, I did a video comparing NFL draft prospects to Dragon Ball characters. Well, this year I decided to bring back that same concept but with One Piece characters. Now, I'm not using every single One Piece character. I limited it to male characters. It's the Straw Hats, Warlords of the Sea, and the 4 Emperors. And I am including one extra character that's not necessarily in that description, but I had to make an exception because the comp was just too perfect for me to pass up. Now to start off, you got to start off with Monkey D. Luffy. My comp would be Cam Ward, and if you're asking why, because Cam Ward kind of has a free play style. He doesn't really hunker down. He's not the strategic guy that's going to plot. He's extremely talented, has gobs of potential, and will just wing it sometimes. He'll throw it, be like, my arm's good enough, I can make it there. Similar to how Luffy's like, hey, my arm's long enough, I can stretch it over there to punch that guy. It's very similar. Cannon of an arm that can just go all over the place, and just the carefree attitude to say, let's risk it. And that's a lot of Cam Ward's game style compared to Luffy as a character. Now, for Zoro, and this was a little harder, but I really came up with someone I liked, and that'd be Donovan Ezuraku. Donovan Ezuraku is a strategist. He's a technician, similar to how it would be for a swordsman learning. Zoro is very particular with his sword training skills. He trains methodically every single day, and a lot of it, even though he does have raw natural strength and power like Donovan Ezuraku, a lot of technical work. He makes sure his slices are precise. He makes sure every little movement with everything else. It's very methodical, which is what Donovan Ezuraku reminds me of when I watch him play. Sanji was maybe the most difficult character I had if it wasn't for a certain Warlord of the Sea, but I came up with Colston Loveland, and the reason why is because Sanji's kind of a do-it-all character. He takes care of the ship. He will go on the assault missions. He can be defensive. He can be a spy. He can kind of do everything with what the crew needs, which reminds me a lot of Colston Loveland, who is just a do-it-all tight end. He is not a master of anything in particular, but he knows everything very well. And that's very key for a good tight end is you can do one thing great. If you're a great receiving tight end, well, you're probably not a good blocker. If you're a really great blocker, you're probably not the best receiver. But Colston Loveland does all of it very well. He's a master of nothing, but excellent at everything. And that's the key with Colston Loveland, as you see with Sanji. Sanji's not the most powerful guy in the Straw Hats. Sanji's not the fastest guy. He's not the most stealthy guy. But what he does is he combines all those tools together and is just a powerhouse you don't mess with because he just does everything so well. For Jinbei, this one kind of just came naturally to me as I'm creating this list. I'm like, okay, I need someone who's big, athletic, just can move, cause issues, is a mayhem maker because no one knows how to necessarily stop him. I was like, oh, Walter Nolan. Walter Nolan is a twitchy, athletic guy who's big, strong, powerful, and makes things happen. It's very Jinbei-esque, as in Jinbei, who is very calculated, very powerful, just causes issues for defenders who are trying to stave off the Straw Hats, that he just creates the issues and all the other guys get to pick apart everyone else then because of it, which is something we saw at Ole Miss with Walter Nolan. Walter Nolan was such a beast that you had his teammates were able to pick the bones and take one-on-one matchups and get to the quarterback because of him. He was a setup guy, along with what Jinbei is in modern One Piece. Now, Usopp, I had to find a certain way to describe him because if you're a One Piece fan, you know what Usopp is. He's not the bravest guy. He will hide behind the dark lines, but when it comes up to when it matters the most, when you need to make something happen, he steps up. And I wanted to focus on his positives. His positives is his hockey and his sight, observation hockey. And I just really like Malachi Starks for that. Malachi Starks is someone who I think can really observe offenses very well. Like observation hockey, can predict movements very well, can be a good reactionary guy, but knows where the stuff is going to happen and can get there beforehand or can just save someone. Be like, hey, you're at a position, we need to go here. You're on this guy. Hey, watch for the in route, watch for the streak. Just pays attention to every little thing, and that's something Malachi Starks does very well, and it very much reminds me of observation hockey, which Usopp is most well known for in modern One Piece. Now, Chopper I debated on doing because he doesn't really have this big aura of powerful guy, whatever, but I just really had the idea of Jihad Campbell here. Because Jihad Campbell can kind of do everything. He can play your middle linebacker position, he can come down and play edge, he can drop back in coverage, he can play the run, he can do all those things at the linebacker position, which is very which is very congruent with Chopper's abilities of rumble point. He can transform, he can be the small doctor that's taking care of everyone, or he can be this big brawler that's going out and fighting, or he can be the giant that's just causing mayhem and destruction. It's very Jihad Campbell-esque with his playstyle on the field. Now for Brook, and I'm not going to pretend like this was someone I was really excited to comp to. I had to think, and I was like, okay, let's focus on what Brook does well. He's very big and very fast. Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren popped in my head. He's a very big, very fast, agile guy. He's not going to really hold up if it's a powerhouse against him. If a powerhouse gets his hands on him, it's not going to end well. But what he can use is his speed and agility to his advantage. And Tyler Warren is one of the fastest tight ends you'll see. When he takes off, he is a quick guy who is hard to stop. Very similar to Brook, who can literally run on water. He's so quick. And that's something very comparable to Tyler Warren as someone who's just fast, big, matchup nightmare, because if he gets going, he's very hard to stop. For Frankie, I came up with Will Campbell. Now, there were a couple reasons. One, I had to look at you and see if you would be like the bro guy. Bro, the guy who would speak like that. And secondly, you need to be a big guy who's a big powerhouse. And that was Will Campbell to me. Will Campbell, you can say, oh, he doesn't have the longest arms. Well, Frankie has different arms, to say the least, if you know what I'm talking about. It's hard to describe. But he's a big, strong guy that if he gets his hands on you, you're not going anywhere. And that's very similar with Will Campbell. And Will Campbell can handle speed like Frankie can. Frankie is very mobile. He can get out in front. Similar to Will Campbell as an offensive lineman. It just kind of fits to a T, which I thought was very weird while I was coming up with the list. Because I'm like, okay, Frankie's going to be hard. Frankie's going to be hard. Who? And I looked, I'm like, oh, Will Campbell makes a lot of sense. And when you compare them, looks like a bro dude. And just as fast, agile, and strong as an ox. We're done with the Straw Hats. I wanted to move forward to the Warlords. And mainly, the first one I want to talk about is probably my favorite Warlord of the Sea is Hawkeye Mihawk. And Mihawk, I comped him to Mike Green. And the reason as to why I comped him to Mike Green is because when I was comparing them, okay, I have Donovan Azaraku as Zoro. So I kind of want an edge rusher for Mihawk. And I was thinking, I'm like, who fits there? And I came up with Mike Green. Because Mike Green is someone who is a little under the radar, like Mihawk. Mihawk is someone more in the caliber of a Four Emperor. He's a rival of Shanks, and Shanks deems him as an equal. And that's kind of Mike Green. Mike Green is someone who is going to go lower than where he probably would be because of off-the-field issues. But when it comes to the play and the cause and havoc he creates, he's just a pure chaos maker. He gets off the edge, he gets the quarterbacks, he makes the big-time plays over and over again. And that was something I really saw when I was making the comp, is Mihawk is on a different level, but stays at a lower level. And Mike Green probably should be on a higher level, but will be at a lower level in this draft process due to off-the-field issues. Nick Scorton for Crocodile, because at one point, Crocodile was leagues above the Straw Hats. And then he obviously got beaten, and you just saw him kind of fall off, back and impel down. And he kind of just cements himself as this powerhouse again, which is very Nick Scorton with what I expect to happen. He had a great year at Purdue. Then he transferred to A&M and kind of just lost a lot of hype because he wasn't getting after the quarterback, because it's not with what his responsibility was. And I expect as he gets to the NFL level, I expect we're going to see him getting back after the quarterback and causing mayhem again, re-establishing himself as a top-tier edge from this class, which I think we're going to see happen in the next couple of years with him. Gecko Moria in this one was the most difficult one. I mentioned there was a Warlord earlier that I struggled with. Yeah, it was Gecko Moria. I came up with so many names for him, and I kept on deleting them, and I kept on doing it over and over again until I came up with Gray Zabel. And if you're asking why, first of all, Gecko Moria, he's a unit. He is a big guy, but he's also kind of nasty. And that's why I went with Gray Zabel. Because when you watch Zabel play, he's a very nasty guy. He'll block you. He will beat you up. That's what he does. He is not a fun player to go against. And here's the thing. He will have fun tormenting you. just destroying their defensive lines. He has fun while playing the game. And when you watch Gecko Moria in Thriller Bark, he really took pleasure in destroying the Straw Hats little by little. And that's very Grey Zabel on the football field. For Bartolomeo Kuma, I went with Kenneth Grant. And the reason why I went with Grant for Kuma is because Kuma always just pops up everywhere. Kind of like Kenneth Grant. Kenneth Grant is all over the football field. He is a big guy, like Kuma, so he should not be able to move that great. He should not be everywhere. But he just is, and Kuma appears all the time, and it's always destruction. He's so hard to deal with, and he is just quick. He gets everywhere. And that's just Kenneth Grant. He's everywhere. He's all over the place. He'll track you down. He is a nightmare to go against, just like it was when the Straw Hats ran to Kuma in the 2 arcs that they did in Thriller Bark and then Sabadoi Isles. It was just not fun for them. And you saw that come up over and over again when you watched Kenneth Grant play, as running backs were kind of looking over their shoulder like, why is he catching up to me? How is this man? Okay, fine, I'm tackled. It was kind of just that, and it was always very impressive and reminded me a lot of that when I was making the comparables. Buggy was very much inflated by the war arc, and where he had the TV going on then, he was talking, showcasing himself, and you had the prisoners buy into him more and more and more, and it just kind of reminded me of Jackson Dart in the comparable, because to me, Jackson Dart was never this well hyped up during the college football season, or even really shortly after. It wasn't until we saw draft media kind of get into the process, and we saw more conversation about it, we saw like, oh, this guy's a first round pick. I still don't see it. I'm going to be completely honest, and I watched Jackson Dart, and I was just like, it makes sense for Buggy, because Buggy, even though he is talented and still not someone you want to mess with, like Dart does have talent, he's definitely got some tools, he's got a big arm, he's got little mobility, he can make his decisions very quickly, but with Buggy as well, it's just, he's got great power. Buggy just never is a realistic threat, and that's kind of how I feel about Jackson Dart. I don't know if Dart will ever amount to it. He could very well in the future, but looking on paper, he feels like someone who is just kind of hyped up for the media, and that's very similar to Buggy. And not saying Dart's not good, he can be good. I have thought, hey, for a day 2 pick, that works perfectly. Round 1, no, and that's the thing with Buggy is, Buggy, yeah, he's not a Warlord of the Sea, he's a good pirate, but we're putting him on a little too high of a pedestal. That's just the comparison I made in my head with those two. So I put Tet McMillan. And the reason why is, for one, Doflamingo is a big, intimidating guy. He towers over Luffy. He towers over almost everyone. And that was something I very much want to replicate in the comp, is because that's part of his aura, is he's so much bigger and he looks down on people. And he just kind of is a monster. And Tet McMillan's a monster to play against. I'm not comparing their personalities at all. Tet McMillan just causes mayhem. He is hard for cornerbacks to deal with, just like Doflamingo is for anyone who went up against him. It was very methodical in how the movements would set up, and he's maybe not the quickest. But man, he gets his hands on you, or he just gets hands on the football. Good luck dealing with him, and that's something that very much popped to my mind with those two. For Trafalgar Law, I came up with Luther Burden. Luther Burden's someone I'm very high on, and Trafalgar Law is one of my favorite characters in One Piece, so kind of worked out like that for me. And I just watched Law, and I was trying to think, okay, his room ability, how can I translate this? And I was like, well, maybe a wide receiver, and I was looking through the list, I'm like, okay, room is easily movable, can get by people, etc. Luther Burden, he's a very good route runner, has some good speed, can get by people. And when you're kind of trapped in that little intersection with him where you're trying to make the tackle, just like if you're close to Law, he breaks up room, you're not getting the tackle one-on-one. You need multiple people to bring him down. And that's something you see with Law is it's very rare for someone to take him down one-on-one. It takes multiple people. And that's just Luther Burden. He is hard to bring down at the point of attack, and he just keeps on going, and he's got the speed to get by you. It just makes a lot of sense when you compare room to his ability. For Blackbeard, I came up with something I'm very happy about, because when I was going through this, I had to find someone who was extremely powerful, had all the potential in the world, is a powerhouse, can fight, can go after everyone. I came up with Abdul Carter. And maybe you're like, oh, maybe saving Abdul Carter for Whitebeard. No, I'm not. Abdul Carter fits Blackbeard because Blackbeard kind of is just this guy we're uncertain of, and we know he's extremely powerful, but we don't know how powerful yet. And that's very Abdul Carter, is we know how good he was in college, but how good is he going to be in the NFL? How terrifying is it going to be? And it's just that thought in the back of your head that compares the two so similarly in my head. Ace, this is the one that I had to include because it just made sense in the world when I was making the comp, and that's Shedeur Sanders. Ace is the son of Goldie Roger, the greatest pirate of all time in the show. And you look at that, well, Shedeur Sanders is the son of Deion Sanders, one of the greatest players of all time, one of the best cornerbacks of all time. And there's a lot of high expectations for Shedeur because of that. But Shedeur, just like Ace, is still very talented. Ace is maybe not on the level of his dad, and Shedeur, I don't think will ever be in the same stratosphere of his dad, just because that's such a high standard. But you just kind of get the sense that they have to live up to these expectations, and they're so grandiose, they're so tall and high, that you're not necessarily going to reach them. But you can still be really good and really effective, and that's kind of what I just see with Shedeur. They're talented, they have some mobility, but when they just are throwing it down, they showcase that they can be that legend that their dad was. For Whitebeard, I used Mason Graham. And this one, not the easiest. I knew I had to use a big guy, so I just used my number one interior defensive tackle prospect in Mason Graham here. Mason Graham is just a strong dude. He's good at the point of attack, can kind of manhandle an offensive line if they're not fully prepared. And that was very Whitebeard, and Whitebeard gets his hands on you, you're kind of just screwed. And that's very similar with Mason Graham. Now for my last two, and these were the two that I kind of had written up before I even thought this video through, was like, a month ago, I was like, if I make this video, those two are sharpied into these two spots. We're going to start off with Kaido, which is Ashton Genty. Just like Kaido, Ashton Genty is a monster. You don't really get to handle him one-on-one. If you do, you're very lucky and you're having to find a form that we didn't know existed at the time. And he is just a monster. You can't necessarily bring him down one-on-one. You have to fight. You have to bring your buddies to fight him. And that's the thing, when they first matched up against Kaido, it wasn't just Luffy. It was Zoro. It was Law. It was Kid. And that's with what you see when people have to tackle Ashton Genty. It's not just one guy. It's either 2 to 3 to 4 guys that have to tackle him at the same time. And he's just a monster. He goes through everyone. He's a bat out of hell. You can't tackle him. You can't stop him. He runs by you. How is someone this strong and this fast? It's unfair, which is very Ashton Genty and very Kaido-like. And lastly, the guy to finish this video on is Shanks. And my comp for Shanks would be Travis Hunter. Now, the reason why I use Travis Hunter here is because Travis Hunter played both offense and defense. Shanks has a relationship with the world government and has a relationship as being a well-known pirate, a Emperor. And that was something that kind of kept in my head, is he plays both sides. He's very strategic, like Hunter, breaks it down, like Hunter. He is still incredibly fast, like Hunter, strong, like Hunter. Just keep on making the comps. They're very much alike. And here's the thing. You don't mess with them, because you know if you mess with them, you're going to regret it. Quarterbacks in college, when they mess with Travis Hunter, cornerbacks, when they mess with Travis Hunter, they regret it because they ended up on a highlight reel. And that's just the thing with Travis Hunter, is just like Shanks, you don't mess with them because they are that powerful, and when they get going, you're just screwed. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, please. I'm trying to hit 200 subscribers by the NFL draft. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but it means a lot to me. And if you have any other comps you'd like to make in the comment section, go ahead. This was a lot of fun. I'm curious to see what other people would make the comps for One Piece characters. There were characters I wanted to include it, but I just cut it due to time. I was like, I don't want a really long video to make here. I want it short and sweet and to the point for people to enjoy. And hey, if you would share this, I'd appreciate it. I have both a love for football and anime. This is probably going to be a yearly tradition. I don't know what I'll be doing next year. Maybe My Hero Academia, maybe Demon Slayer. Who knows? But stay tuned for that. And thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.